Da, 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 da. Welcome back to Healthy Living with Christina Sichangwa, and as promised, I am back to share what the journey, like the pregnancy journey, was like for me. So this one is going to be more of like a story time, but as always, I'm still going to give some like pointers on what the journey was like for me. But before we get into that, ensure to like, share, and subscribe. And first and foremost, completely different experience from what I had expected. I don't know why. And then again, I think I'll refer back to the previous video of the things I wish I learned. I really feel like maybe if I had more, I don't know, it was just like an out of body experience. I had assumed so much, and the reality was so different. So what I'm just from saying, like, zeros around what I had said in the previous video, like there's no one size fits all. I was so sure, like, I would have sort of similar experiences, and then I ended up being the one in a million kind of person. But even though, so first things first, I would say that I learned from being pregnant is to take life a minute at a time, because at that time, oh my god, like things would change so fast. Like, firstly, early pregnancy, like me trying to know if I was pregnant, like I was feeling different. I think in the previous video I described breaking down and crying, which is apparently when my husband knew, like, yeah, she's probably pregnant because she's been crying over everything. And I was, right? And a week later I wasn't. I wasn't really crying over anything. So that's what I mean, like taking it a minute at a time, because I felt like my body would change. Like 1 second I'm like, like in the first week after I found out, I had no nausea, no vomiting. So I was very sure, like, I am never gonna touch that. Not only did I touch that, it touched me. I was throughout the trimester. I do not believe in morning sickness. There was nothing morning about it. It was all season, all night, every day throughout the journey. And no, it was not just the first trimester. So it was all sorts of things. Like it was, yes, the smell of food. It was my reaction to medication. It was like a combination of things. And then towards the end, the baby's hitting your stomach. I don't know, you're having early labor symptoms, and one of them happens to be nausea and vomiting. Like, it was just crazy. The thing would just not let me go. So taking it a minute at a time, I learned really quickly to just be like, okay, this will pass, this will pass. At the same time, knowing like anything could happen in the future. Like 1 second I could be like this, the next second it's completely different. So just being open-minded, because I feel like especially if you're like me, who's very systematic, doesn't like surprises, likes things just going the way it is in my head, you may struggle with adjusting, right? You like, it was just, for me in the first trimester, where I thought, I'm like, okay, again, I said I researched a lot, so I was so ready, like, even if I gain weight, I don't care. Like, I've always had this flat tummy, it may disappear, I don't care. By the last towards the end, by the end of my third trimester, I literally had abs I never had all this time in my life, from how hard I was puking. Like, it toned my stomach instead of it becoming a belly. And I would nag my neighbors, because they are doctors, like, how come I'd send them TikToks like, this girl looks quite big and she's more pregnant than me. Like, it was just, it was funny. Now when I think about it, it was very funny. But I lost weight at the end of my first trimester rather than gaining. So taking it a minute at a time really helped me adjust to the process. And it also helped me be tough, because I feel like at some point you just have to be tough. That was like my saying throughout from day one of pregnancy. Tough times never last. Only tough people last.
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
You gotta be tough. You gotta, take it and move on with the times. And reminding myself, like, listen, there's a whole tiny baby in me, like, yeah. I'm making a whole human being. My body's adjusting to that. Like, that's why I feel crazy on the inside. Second thing I would say is write down as much as you can as your memory fades. Now, this is coming from someone who, I got an eidetic memory. My memory is photographic. Ladies and gentlemen, I think by third trimester I had probably one of the highest cases of baby brain, pregnancy brain, mom brain, whatever you want to call it. I think I even forgot my name. It was wild. And I had what I would call baby tracking in my notes. I would write down every special date. The date I felt I knew I was pregnant, the date I got the confirmation, the date, now when I look back, did I complete the thing? No, because things got crazy towards the end. But I had so many of those to my notes. I'd write down my symptoms so I don't forget. I'd write them down, like first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, what's extraordinary, what was completely shocking. I'll give an example of what was very extraordinary. And I thought something was wrong. I felt my baby move very, very, very early. There are some people who 24 weeks, they haven't felt anything yet, and that's perfectly normal. I felt my baby move at 16 weeks. And the moving, quite the athlete. Like, as soon as she's walking, signing her up for gymnastics, because the girl's got talent. There were several things that were not really several, but there were a number of things that were out of this world. And so writing those things down, like, now that the feeling has faded, and that's why I wanted to wait to do my pregnancy video, because I needed the feelings to fade. I needed to not be talking from the hormones and the feelings at the time, because it was you can discourage Vanababeni. Anyway, yes, so I loved that I had all these memories. So when I'd go back, I'd write random things, like, on this date I got to see you for the first time on a scan, you look quite chubby, all of that stuff. Enjoyed it. The first day I saw her pout on a scan, it takes me back, and it actually gives me the good hormones, the good emotions from what I had experienced. Okay, so another thing I would say is enjoy your unique experiences. Like I said, my baby moving early, I enjoyed that I had lost weight at the end of my first trimester. It was unusual for me at the time, but I enjoyed not having to drastically spend money to change clothes. I enjoyed the privacy, because many people could not see that I was pregnant. So I loved. That's another thing I learned about pregnancy, that wasn't here. I'm a social person to some extent. I'm an ambivert, both extroverted, introverted. But pregnancy, I learned that when I was getting married, the process of getting married, till date, I think my husband and I have not really shared our wedding videos, wedding photos, but the way we watch those things, you just learn to savor the moment, right? So I enjoyed that I was experiencing. Yes, I was throwing up and whatever, but I still enjoyed that it was private. I didn't have to explain why the gut is there. I loved it, and it made me again enjoy when she was born. It just made me enjoy my privacy, really. So savor those unique experiences that you have, because it's unique. If you're having triplets, you're having quadruplets, enjoy all of those moments. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen. Life is for the living. I always say that one of the healthiest things is ensuring that you're not just living, but the quality of it is. By that I mean, it says in Philippians 4 verse 8, whatever is praiseworthy, whatever is glorious, whatever is holy, whatever is pure, focus your mind on these things. Enjoy those things. My God, I'll give an example. which leads into the third point, which is fight for yourself. Now this one, throughout like being pregnant, there was a famous saying within the circles that I had become vicious. Christina has become more vicious. Christina has become more frank. Christina has become more overprotective. Do I believe that? Yes, maybe I was more expressive of it. I didn't feel any different on the inside because I say a lot of things in my head. I've always been frank. I've always been extremely blunt, but like being a normal grown-up, you know, having gone through character development, I feel like I learned. And you know, the funny thing is I have impulsive speech. Like I could be before you and just be like, your eyes are so gorgeous, and I had to learn, like, you know, to kind of control those things, because I can also say the exact opposite of that, like whatever just pops into my mind. So I feel like being pregnant, again, like I said, I did face a lot of invalidation. I remember every single time I'd go see the doctor. Now I did know that I was quite hypersensitive to like, and I would react to certain medications. So every single practitioner I would see, I'd let them know, like even before you prescribe something, please know that this is what happens, right? So this guy, this doctor, yeah, other doctor, yes, and another one, I saw quite the number. So he prescribes a number of things, and I get insanely sick. Like I was just, it was really bad, and I just had the hunch that I think it's the medication. So I'm like, let me skip a day or two, let me see where things go, and I was perfectly fine. And so he calls to check in and calls my husband, and he's like, oh, how's she doing? And he's like, my husband's like, she really wasn't doing well. Like I couldn't keep anything down, to the point that, you know, they had come to like connect the drips to me, because I can't not eat or have energy or whatever, like the baby is depending on me. And that was the trigger. That's what triggered me, like I can't live like this. I can't live like this, my child must eat. So yeah, like, so he tells, sorry, that's my baby. He tells my husband like, oh my God, couldn't she just have endured? Like it was just 7 days. Like, anyway, so I learned to fight for myself. By that I mean I didn't pick a fight with everybody. I didn't lose my principles. I didn't throw any of that stuff out. But I definitely learned to speak my mind. Like I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Yes, I'm going to do that. You're hurting me. You've whatever been too rough with me. Like I learned to do that, because no one is going to do that for you. You're a pregnant woman. Worse if you're African, you know, a true black African woman, you must just endure everything, and that's not something I subscribe to. Soft life for life. So I learned to speak up for myself. I learned like, no, I'm not going to, especially the fact that I had such weird experiences. My diet would change like every day. So, and I'm like, and I started again, I'm systematic. I would notice if I beat 3 hours have passed. I had an insane appetite, ladies and gentlemen. Like everyone's like, yeah, that's normal. Like, no, it was insane. And I remember the moment they took Nana out of me, like I immediately was no longer hungry. Funny thing is, she was insanely hungry. Like she was just eating like all the blankets, and everyone was so fascinated. I really wasn't, because again, like it was happening inside of me. Yeah, so I learned to like fight for myself. Someone be like, you know, just come out. I'm like, no, I can't go randomly be visiting people because of my strict eating schedule, how much I have to use the bathroom. Like I just learned to be like, no, that's not going to be comfortable for me. It's going to lead me into being sick and whatever, like especially with doctors and medicines and whatever. Like, no, there has to be an alternative. And that's what I love about, even though it was via try and error, when I finally met my guy, when I had a complication and flew here and met my guy, like she would listen. She would really go above and beyond to help me find alternatives, and that is what I like. I feel like if I was just there sheepish and enduring, I wouldn't enjoy the experience, and it was already, you know, quite tough. So fight for yourself. Another experience that, like, I'd like to give another example on this particular part. I think this is again when I was talking about things I wish I learned, when I talked about research in the previous video. I remember one day, like I was shooting just like this. I was shooting, and I think it's the videos that I did with on addiction with my husband. And we were shooting. Right after shooting, we shot in the evening. So right after shooting, you know, you eat, you're going to bed, and I just was not feeling okay. Something just felt off. So I'm like, no, let's go to the hospital. That's how we went. And I remember that day they had also measured my, like there was a threatened abortion, like, you know, possible miscarriage or whatever, however we want to phrase it. So they measured my cervix to make sure it's closed and everything. And yeah, so when they measured it, they're like, oh, it's quite short. I had no idea that existed. I had no idea, like, that's also a factor, and that's like a big deal, and one of the things that really contributes to people losing their babies. Why isn't it common knowledge? But that's just my personal thoughts. Yeah, but moving forward, I'll ensure to measure my cervix. But yeah, so they measured it, and then it was like really short. So that was a challenge, and they kind of had to sit us down and let us know, like, look, you could possibly lose the baby because yeah, your cervix could be incompetent and blah blah blah. And so now we had to go through a whole process with my husband of kind of like being with different specialists and finding out what we could do, what we couldn't do. And honestly, they were helpful. At the same time, they were really blunt and honest at the fact that the chances of her surviving were quite slim, especially since it was my first pregnancy. I'd have to lose her to know for sure if I had an incompetent cervix. Now, everybody, like, I understood that, and you know, I was taking things like a G. I remember I'd be on those conference calls and whatever, and I'm like, yeah. So you need to. That's exactly why I had to fly in. Like, you need to fly in, and yeah, like there were certain things needed that were not there in Kasama for me to verify some things, like, and yeah, possible alternatives. They were just not there that side. So I had to kind of fly here, and it was urgent because of how far along I had gotten. So they were done talking. I remember right after cutting the line and just crying, because in as much as they were talking, you know, like eat and whatever, like to them it's medical, to them it's, listen, these things happen. To me, this is my child. I have bonded with this person, very excited to see this person. And that's another thing I began to realize, like, they don't have an emotional connection to this person like you do. So you are the person that has to fight, you know, to ensure that everything is in place. Like, we did not, I think, take no for an answer. We were really pushing for alternatives. Spoke to my pastor. I remember he prayed, and this is by far my favorite testimony on the planet. I have many. Baby girl and I went through a lot, but I have many, but this is one of my favorites. I remember during the week I was waiting to like fly out. I could not do anything. I just had to sit practically in the same spot, and I would, okay, I'll give, yeah, it's one of the points I wrote here: practice positive visualization. I would literally sit and envision her, like, when I hold you, when I do this, and at the time we didn't know the gender because baby girl was very active. So every time we went to check, they were unable to tell. So yeah, like, I would envision being with her. I would envision this moment, the moment when I would share with the world how much she fought and survived, how God did not let us down, and how faithful he was. Like, I would do that a lot. I would envision. And the biggest thing is, because I was so like, when I was pregnant, I didn't want a maternity shoot and all of that stuff, but that was now my goal. I'm like, baby girl, the moment they give the go ahead that we're okay, we're taking a shoot, you know, like I don't know, I was just saying all of these things to my baby. Like, I was just fighting. I didn't want to like lose the battle in my mind, you know. So fight for yourself, like, fight, trust me, just trust me. Yeah. Number 5, do not be afraid to ask for help. So giving the same example, the fact that I was just in bed, I was not allowed to do much because of the danger, right? So and it was the like roughest period. My husband was so busy with work, you know, and I love that I had such a community, have such a community. So throughout my pregnancy, I've enjoyed the fact that I've had so many people help me out: my family, my siblings, my pastor, my husband, my neighbors. Like, it taught me. And I remember like talking to my favorite doctor on the planet. she knows herself. I don't really need to give her a shout. At least you people start harassing her. I remember like when I was talking to her during that period, and she said the best mommy you can be is just accepting the help, like just sit, actually rest and all of that stuff. And I don't know, like it took that thing out of me. I hate being vulnerable. I hate, just like everybody else on the planet, but it really put me in a place where I learned I learned that I could, it's being a great mom asking for help. Like, rest, enjoy the moment, put your feet up, don't do too much, don't force yourself. If, again, when I say fight for yourself, if anything goes wrong, trust me, it's always your fault. And it's going to be, no, you didn't. If you ate, if you breathed right, if you inhaled 5 oranges, like, so please ask for help as much as you can. Don't let people make you think because you're shiny, you look, hey, if you get the help or you look lazy. Please just get the help that you need. The next thing, I've already talked about practicing positive visualization. Obviously, this goes without saying, pray. I don't know how people do this without praying. I don't know how they do it without talking to God. And I don't mean being mad and going, hey, you owe me, like as though he owes you anything. No, it was beautiful to go. When I tell you he was my best friend, even more than he's ever been my entire life. I remember in my second trimester, like that's when I started like gaining a belly and everything started changing and everything. And I again had done so much research and people knew I was pregnant, so they were asking me more questions. And one of the things that, okay, I won't get into like the details of that, but I was trying to be very honest with them. Like, these people try to dumb down some of these things. Like, okay, if you use these oils, you won't experience stretch marks. Ladies and gentlemen, they're genetic. No matter what you do, yes, they can maybe reduce, they are going to be there. Just like, come on. Yeah, so I was trying to really emphasize that with the people I was talking to, like, don't be on this fairy tale horse. There are several things that they happen to most people than not. People are just not expressive, right? As expressive maybe as I am. So I remember like, and the person is like, then why go through it? Why have a baby and stuff? Like, because you're going to lose this, you're going to lose that, your face, your skin, and all of that stuff. And I remember that day, it was a Saturday, and Sunday during service, we're just worshiping as a church and praying. And I remember the Lord telling me, don't be ashamed of being a mother. Even Jesus bears scars, like the where his nails had gone through. Even Jesus bears scars, like that show that he sacrificed for love. So never be ashamed. You do your part. Like, love is sacrificial. Being a parent is sacrificial. You're going to carry the cross. And another thing that hit me is he said you're doing something without a guarantee of reciprocation. Like, my baby could, I don't know, never appreciate the sacrifices I've made, and I'm okay with that. I did it, just because that's what love is. Jesus did it for me. So yeah, pray. It gives you a better perspective, especially as believers. It reminds you why you're doing this. The Bible in Psalm 127 verse 3, I read every version. I enjoyed every version. It says, don't you know children are God's legacy? That also moved me. Like, wow, I'm pushing God's legacy. I'm pushing, children are God's love gift. Children are, like, name it. Just all of that, like, was reinforcing. Even when the Bible says, like, before I knew you, like, when you were being woven in your mother's womb, that, like, gave me so much peace. I'd always tell my baby, like, don't worry, you're in there with the Lord, you're in there with the Holy Spirit. So he's making sure everything is coming together perfectly for you. And that's like the beauty of having that relationship. Again, being a good Christian makes you a good pregnant person. It makes you a good mom. So ensure to pray. Lastly, I would say, for now, again, if you'd like to know more, you want details, you want to know, hey, if I had acne or whatever, you can DM me. I didn't see the need of that because I feel like all these other things are everywhere on social media, honestly. Okay, so be realistic and accepting. That's back to the same thing I was talking about, stretch marks. This journey, just be open to the fact that certain things are going to change. Your jean size might change. Ladies and gentlemen, even your foot size could change. Right now, it's just I can't dismantle where it is to show you. I don't mind, I would have shown you. Like, right after I gave birth, I drastically lost weight. And so I had like excess skin. Now it's like balancing out, but like my skin is peeling in certain places because of the excess skin. And I wasn't like, oh my god, like, because pregnancy actually taught me to, again, taking it a minute at a time. These things fade, they go away. It's again, it's another love scar for doing what I've done. My baby girl is perfect. She's adorable. She's very authoritative. Love it. And all those things, I can't say it's because I got stretch marks and all of that stuff. It's just God being God. It's a very beautiful journey. Just like I said in my video, for making difficult decisions, it's a difficult decision. Come what may, yes, you're going to experience some of these things. Accept it. It's going to help you enjoy the process. When I say accept it, I don't mean accept suffering. That's contradicting the whole fight for yourself. I mean, knowing that some of these things are possible will help you put certain things in place to ensure that the experience is enjoyable. It's about quality. It's about you enjoying every single stage of your life, and hence me making this video to ensure that you equally get that experience. So I hope it's been helpful. I'm very excited to have finally talked about it. Is it the last time? Probably not. I just wanted to share whilst my brain was very fresh and my memory was sharp. So see you in the next video.